Ba-da, ba-da, ba-da,
Ba-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
We are live.
James is first. Who's on second and what's on third?
Classic.
All right. Sending link. Link sent. Sending link again. Link sent again.
Good boy.
Sending link. Link sent.
Sending link again because I'm in too many chats. Link sent. Yo, yo. All right, we got a couple people in here.
Yo, yo. We're just gonna hum that the whole time.
Yeah, that's the review.
Yeah,
That's how good the theme is.
exactly.
I love inside jokes on live streams.
Yes, absolutely.
Inside text. That was funny. Come on in. The water's great. So we may, since we're trying this, Drew, we may want to do more editing on the live stream.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure.
Dude, the people will love to hear us silently send the link to different chats.
I personally find it riveting. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I'm in the chats and I find it boring. Just kidding.
All right. I have
Has it been shared to the group?
my bourbon here.
It's been shared to the group and it's been shared to the group chats. And
I don't see it in the group.
I just posted it.
Oh, okay, there it is.
Yeah. I forgot to tag everyone. So I'm gonna go
Wow,
and
thanks
do
a
that.
lot.
I'm ruined.
Tagging everyone so that we can get more people leaving.
Hey, you know what? We don't want them anyway. Just
I
kidding.
wanted
Don't-
them, but
Just don't.
it's-
Just kidding. Don't leave.
Stone is here. Stone is present. He's making himself known.
Do we
He's
like?
here for now.
Do we like this angle or do we like this angle with the random symbol over my left shoulder or my right shoulder?
Any angle you're in.
Oh,
That's true.
Kind.
That's true. But if you do have the symbol in the frame, it's a bit symbolic.
Of what? You ran out of stuff there.
That's it. There's no other stuff.
Really ran out of steam.
Yeah.
See how tiny I can get this mini window here playing the movie while we talk about it. So are they all on Prime?
They are, but they're a limited time. I think they're all leaving.
They're leaving in like 4 days.
Oh, geez. That's
But I'm sure they'll head to another streaming service because that's usually
surely they'll go somewhere else that I have.
yeah.
If they're not going to Peacock.
Hey, dude.
Freaking
Do
Peacock.
not hate on Peacock.
Well, no. Actually, that would be great if they went to Peacock because they're doing like an insane Black Friday sign-up sale right now.
Oh, are they really?
Like it's like $1.50. Like
for what? For like one
For
month
like
or a bunch of months?
I don't think it's a bunch of months, but it's like
So I could have it for maybe a few months for like $1.50 a
at,
month.
at bare minimum you get it a month at $1.50. And
Not bad if
the
I get
thing
like
is-
12 Bond movies.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like if you have like a month to go through as many bonds as you can, $1.50 is like not bad.
Now the key
They're
is,
doing $19.99 for 1 year.
now that's really good actually.
Yeah.
Now the key is remember to cancel.
Oh, yeah. And see, that's what they're
Oh,
betting
okay.
on.
The
That's
other thing,
100%
it's
what they're betting on.
$1.99 for 6 months.
Okay, that's
Whoa.
awesome.
So that's
Holy
Okay, I'm gonna
cow.
have to. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it, and I'm
Even
gonna
if that's
set-
not where Bond is, I got to do that.
yeah.
Yeah, no
And
kidding.
then, James, if you do that, then you can finally watch Poker Face.
Oh,
Yes!
hey.
Yes.
I need you to watch Poker Face. Actually,
Everyone needs you to watch Poker Face.
yeah. I mean,
Also, you get an unlimited supply of Hallmark stuff. So
Okay, say no more.
also The Office super fan episodes or whatever.
Okay, that's actually a huge draw
Yep.
because I've
And then
really been wanting to watch
Parks and Rec
those.
is on there too, of course. All that stuff. So
yeah, but who cares about that?
I
when
mean,
have
you know you
Hallmark?
do.
Hey, Stone, do you know? Because I know Stone started this because they were going to be leaving Prime, which is why he started his whole Bond thing. Do you know
Wow.
if there's talk, Stone, of where they might appear later? Are you willing to do sleuthing for us? Cyber sleuth.
Please sleuth.
Would you please kindly sleuth for us?
Lex Luthor.
Exactly.
Lex Sleuther. I love it. You really have to separate the words though.
Yeah.
Lex Sleuther.
No, you say it real fast so people
Lex
don't know
Luthor.
which one you said. Exactly.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Roger. What is that from? The Roger.
The what?
The rural juror.
Rural juror?
Yeah, I think it's 30 Rock. That sounds like a 30 Rock thing.
Uh-oh. Stone said it might be an artificial scarcity thing, but let me check. That's gonna suck if it doesn't stream somewhere else for a while.
That would, but I swear, like before they brought them all over to Prime, I swear they were on a.
Don't argue with the cyber sleuth, all right?
Oh yeah, true.
I do hope
My
that
bad,
they
my
go
bad.
somewhere that I have. Either way, I'm on the lookout for a like box set kind of thing. Nothing has been cheap enough for me to pull the trigger on. I mean, I found good deals, but I just need it to be really. I'm going like even DVD. I don't care if it's Blu-ray or not. Sorry, guys, especially Curry. I like seriously. I care, but I don't care that much. I'm sorry. I watched all of Twin Peaks on DVD, and I didn't one time think about, I wish this was on Blu-ray. Not one time.
Wow.
Not even a little.
Mm-mm. Not one time. Y'all can call me a fake film fan if you want.
Sounds right.
You know what? I think I will.
James agrees because he has the same DVD box set of Twin Peaks that I have.
No, I got Blu-ray.
Huh?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's right.
you
Get
have
wrecked,
DVD.
Michael.
No, I have a Blu-ray.
I'm almost positive that you have
I'm 100% positive I have
the
it on Blu-ray.
DVDs that I have.
I'm 100% positive I have it on Blu-ray because it's the same size as all the other Blu-ray series I have.
It's not about the size, James.
It's about the clarity.
There's the 24 film box set 62 on Blu-ray. Maybe they'll cut that down for a Cyber Monday sale.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm
it's
keeping
making
an eye
that.
out. I'm on. I got it on Amazon right now. Like, I'm just like keeping on checking it, and I'm also keeping an eye on a Facebook Marketplace because sometimes I find weird DVD and Blu-ray stuff on there. But
Yeah, that's a good
it's
idea.
also a bit shady. But
No.
I got the Lord of the Rings 4K and Blu-ray box set, that beautiful gold and black one,
Oh, I love that one.
for $15 and it's in perfect condition essentially.
Nice.
So
That's nice.
yeah, I mean that's one of the best. That's the best Facebook investment I've ever made, I think.
Well, do we want to get started? Well,
Yeah.
Stone does our cyber sleuthing, maybe, if he's still there.
Cyber sleuth. Cyber.
He might
sleuth.
have gotten captured by the cyber.
No.
I don't know.
Punks.
The cyberpunks. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, time to do the intro. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the Banter Fodder Podcast. I'm your host, Bond, Drewby Bond, joined by my co-hosts, Bond, Michael Hoover-Dam Bond, and my other co-host, Bond, James Bond.
Oh, look at that.
So yeah, this is our
Suck it,
first.
Trebek.
Oh, what's the line? So Smith and Wesson, this was your six or whatever he says. I don't
You've
remember
had
the
your
exact quote.
six.
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh yeah,
Golly.
so good. But yeah, this is our first ever live stream review. We just decided we wanted to try something different. All of our and it's not numbers based, but most of our popular episodes have been live streams. So we were like, you know what? Let's just try and do a live stream review. And also it's just fun to kind of get some interaction from everyone and have people join in on the conversation. Like Stone right now, let's see what he's saying. He's yapping about stuff.
Yeah, he's yapping about some stupid stuff.
Yeah, he's yapping about cyber sleuth and stuff, so who cares?
No, it was the other thing.
Oh, actually, no, that's not stupid. He said, also, Michael, you're dumb for not watching Twin Peaks in HD. P.S. James has the Blu-ray set.
I swear to God, he had the DVDs when he was
No, I had the Blu-ray set. But hey,
Michael doesn't even know what a Blu-ray is.
What is Blu-ray? It wasn't blue.
Dang it, he's got
I don't know. I could have swore, but
no.
either way, it didn't take away
No,
from my.
hey,
And I will die on the
It's
hill.
90s TV, you know.
It doesn't. It's not required. I'm sorry. I don't care how much you tell me it is. It's not.
We'll see if Curry hops in the chat.
But I'm not fixing the. But I have the Lord of the Rings in 4K HD, all that stuff. I'm not about to watch the DVDs of Lord of the Rings when I have that. It's Lord of the Rings. It's different.
That's true.
Yeah.
It is different, but Michael, just letting you know, we actually have a surprise guest. David Lynch is going to be joining us later, and he has some very choice words for you.
Oh no.
Nobody wants to get yelled at by David Lynch.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
I do not.
Daddy,
Hey, Bob.
my big elephant's right here in my room.
What?
My big elephant right here.
Your big elephant's right there?
Yeah.
Are you going to get it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
That's Bond's next mission.
Yeah.
Get the big elephant.
That was my son.
That was actually our surprise guest appearance.
Yeah. He was yelling at me about Blu-rays.
Yeah.
That's what he was doing.
This is Stone said the return part 8 in standard definition and a crying emoji. Imagine.
I don't have to imagine this. I'm going to watch it.
Just do it. You'll be all right. You'll get through it.
I'll be all right. I have to
And
get back.
you'll-
I got to get back on that show.
And you'll be
Same
well, no, I won't say anything.
I will be feeling all the things.
You're well, no.
I don't know if you'll be feeling anything. You won't know what to feel.
James is like struggling to tell me what I'm going to feel.
I'm still struggling to know what I felt.
I love it so much. All
All right.
yeah.
Well,
What are we doing?
so let's start off recent watches, boys.
Oh yeah.
We got to do it. And speaking of recent watches, Stone, you should definitely drop your recent watches in the chat because they're very fitting for for what we're talking about for sure.
And if there's anyone else in there besides Stone, also drop
Yeah,
it.
exactly. We can see you. We know there's other people here.
I
I can
can
see where
see
you
you.
are right now.
Stone's cyber sleuthing right now. He can see through the
Exactly.
webcam.
He's got your
right?
IP address for us.
Yeah.
Who talks first? You talk first. I talk first.
You go first, Michael.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you go first, Michael. Yeah, let's hear all about the DVDs that you've been watching.
Let's see. I've actually not been watching DVDs, shockingly. So I haven't watched a ton of movies. I really just two. But I have been watching. My wife and I, every now and then, my wife and I find a show to watch together that is kind of, it's not one of the shows that we would probably talk about on here necessarily, but it's also a show that she likes and that I do really like. And so we find these overlapping shows every now and then. Right now, the last one was Friday Night Lights, and I love Friday Night Lights. It's so good. And this show that we're now on is Parenthood, which I have seen before and she has not. It's one of those make you cry every other episode kind of a show. But it's really good. I think it's a really well done show. So I really love Parenthood. It's a little cheesy at times, but overall really, really, really love it. Aside from that, I watched Gladiator 2. I went to the theaters. I went to the cinema. I had a great experience. The movie was fine. The movie was a thumbs up. It's not, I mean, when you hold it up to the first one, it actually mirrors a lot of the same beats story-wise in the first one as the first one does. And except the character development is not nearly as good. And so because of that, it's weaker. The thing about the first one was, yes, it's epic and grand, and the action is insane, and it's beautifully done in every way. But what made it so good with the action is because that action meant something because of the character development happening between set pieces, with whether it's just Maximus or with him and the guys around him that he was enslaved or imprisoned with, and the family stuff going on there. The Joaquin Phoenix as a villain, God, I mean, I've never hated him more, and I mean that in the best possible way. It's so good. I didn't feel very much in Gladiator 2. All of those beats were kind of rushed through. I honestly think that, again, like I feel like I usually have a lot of people have the opposite thing. A lot of people have the thing of, man, I feel like if they shaved off 10 or 20 minutes, it's like my least favorite criticism. Like, I think the film would have been tighter and better. I honestly think the film needs another half hour. It felt like I missed several things that were important to the development and the emotional core of the story, and I just didn't feel when it was wanting me to feel most of the time. But really, really well filmed. Ridley Scott still got the sauce at times. Visually, mostly really stunning. I don't love a particular part. You saw it in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but the part where they fill the Colosseum with water and there's like a ship sequence.
Dang, I was hoping that'd be awesome.
It's kind of cool. I did find it a little bit ridiculous at times too, and it was kind of disappointing to me.
Dang.
Yeah, it was not what I was hoping to, because when I saw it, I was like, let's go. But it wasn't quite what I was hoping for. And then, yeah, fine performances. I don't think that Paul Mescal was a great choice for that character. I don't think he did a bad job, but I just think he was a weird choice for the things that he was doing didn't quite fit what the story was doing. It was kind of weird.
The problem is, like, 2000s Russell Crowe is a level of star power and charisma that like 0.2% of the population
they'll never get to.
Yeah.
So in some ways I understand. Okay, just go get a good actor then, because you're not going to get another, Russell Crowe. That's just not going to happen. But there were just times where I was like, okay, I feel like this guy's default face is a kind of a smiley, like a smirk, and it doesn't fit this scene. What are you doing? Like, there are just some scenes where I don't feel like it fits at all. However, I thought Pedro Pascal was really great, and I actually his character was really interesting. I think that things happened and I don't think that his character was fully fleshed out like I wanted it to be, but I actually really liked what his character was doing. I liked him in the role too. Every time, I have the thought, man, is Pedro Pascal just in too much? And is he just doing the Pedro Pascal thing? He like kind of gets me like out of nowhere. It's like, whoa, he's good. Like he's really good. I like Pedro. So I'm excited to see him in Fantastic Four. I really, really am.
Yeah.
So
Same
but
here.
yeah, that was good. I enjoyed the movie. I don't highly recommend. I do recommend seeing it in the theater if you're going to see it. It's visually beautiful for the most part, and but it's definitely not the 5-star masterpiece that the first one was.
Shame.
Ridley might need to retire.
Ugh.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
He hasn't had like
Getting
an
tough, man.
He hasn't had an unqualified like commercial and critical hit since The Martian, I think.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're 100% correct. Which is unfortunate because I want him to, I don't go into things wanting. I wanted Napoleon to be great. It wouldn't.
We're talking about Gladiator 2. Shut up.
I wanted Gladiator 2 to be great. It was good and it was better than Napoleon, but it was not great like the first one. So
Stone is in the comments saying the past couple of weeks I've watched the Bond movies in order, and I watched License to Kill 9 out of 10 and GoldenEye 7 out of 10 today. Glad to be done with the Moore era, he says. And he also says he's watching Parenthood.
Yeah, my man. Okay, so have you watched it before, or is this your first watch, Stone? I'm curious. Also, I love that you do 10-point scales instead of 5. I used to do that, and then I got on Letterboxd and just adapted to it. But I love
Letterboxd is a 10 point though.
I mean, it is, but it's 5 too.
Yeah, 5 is more prestigious, honestly.
I like the 10
like
point
the
scale.
5.
I've always liked it. But yeah,
I like the 5. Stone also said he doesn't need to retire. He just needs to make smaller movies. The Last Duel was great. I do agree with that somewhat. I really liked The Last Duel a lot. I thought it was really good. I saw it in theaters whenever it came out.
I have not seen it. I would like to watch it.
It's got really great performances. I just really like the vibes of it too. It felt more akin to like old school Ridley Scott, even though it was like a smaller scale film. But I thought it was really good.
Yes. I'm gonna run through really quickly because I've watched a lot more.
You've watched a lot
lately. So Hallmark started, so I've seen My Christmas Love and Coming Home for Christmas. Drewby watched My Christmas Love, so that'll show up on his recent watches. I'm excited about that.
Yep.
I watched Sweet Smell of Success. That movie is awesome. That is such a cool old noir movie.
Yes.
And let me freaking tell you what, Tony Curtis is like freaking electric in that movie. He is so good. I watched Odd Man Out, which is an Irish noir with James Mason, which is a really cool, good movie. Did a rewatch of Ikiru, still a 5-star masterpiece from Kurosawa. Watched Eraserhead so that Stone could guest on Criterion Corner, and we had a great conversation about that. I'm going to be
looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm going to try to be editing that one in the next couple of days and have it out before the end of November.
What's Criterion Corner, James?
Well, you see, that is a podcast that I host where I pick a film or a guest picks a film within the Criterion collection, and we discuss our history with the movie. We do a movie review, and then we discuss all of the like supplemental features since that's such a big part of like the collection. Few episodes in, doing an episode once a month. Really enjoying it so far, and we had a great conversation over Eraserhead. Funny enough, it's the first non-Japanese movie on the podcast so far, and what a first English film to do. The movie is grotesque but phenomenal.
Interesting.
Race your head,
Am I
baby.
gonna-
Race
am
your
I
head,
gonna be
baby.
on
Race your head,
podcast
baby.
Do what?
I said interesting. Am I going to be on the podcast at some point?
Well, you see, Michael, I had a package come in about a movie about a drummer just recently. So I'm thinking that might be happening pretty soon.
Let's go.
And speaking of stuff that'll be happening on there, there's this little movie with Adam Sandler.
just a little comedy,
Y'all
just a
are
little.
Y'all are talking about Mr. Deeds?
Yes,
Yeah.
it finally entered the Criterion Collection.
Oh my gosh, if they did that, I would love it.
Like a Criterion has said on their website, they literally say that like they don't just pick movies that are like esteemed to be on the Criterion Collection. If there's something that they see fit, like they'll put it on there. So
No.
anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Mr.
But
Deeds, baby.
we'll be covering a certain Adam Sandler movie out there pretty soon.
Yes.
Outside of that, I have then just been on a big Bond binge, starting from Dr. No, and literally like 20 minutes before we started the live stream, I finished On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So I'm tearing through them and having a fantastic time. It's just these are really fun movies to watch back to back for me. I'm having a great time with this.
Yeah, I can't wait to start watching the rest of them because I've only ever seen Dr. No, GoldenEye, Goldfinger. Well, I've seen all the Brosnan films. Let's see, I've seen all the Dalton films and the Craig films, but there's
Wow.
still like a lot of I'm missing. Like I
Have
haven't
you never
watched-
seen On Her Majesty's Secret Service?
No,
Oh man,
I haven't seen any of
Um,
those. I haven't seen. I've only seen I've only seen Dr. No and Goldfinger for Connery films. So I've got a big chunk of Bond movies that I'm missing out on. And I've had my collection for a long while now. So you and some of our other friends getting onto the Bond marathon, I'm like, all right, I got to do it.
Yeah, I'm really excited too because I've only seen the Craig ones, and honestly, I didn't see No Time to Die. I still haven't seen No
Ugh.
Time to Die.
James hasn't either.
yeah.
So I don't know how I didn't, but I didn't. I
It's-
missed it.
It's
then-
phenomenal.
And then I've seen one Brosnan one. I want to say it was GoldenEye, but I could be wrong. It was one. Which one is Halle Berry in?
Oh,
no,
that's
Tomorrow or no,
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Die Another Day.
Die Another Day. That's the
Yeah.
one I've seen. That's the one I've seen. And then I've seen Dr. No, and that's it.
Boy, you've got a lot ahead.
I
That's
have
exciting.
a lot. I have a lot ahead. I'm a little overwhelmed, but I am excited because I've been meaning to do this for years. I just needed friends doing it too, and you guys getting on this is exactly what I needed.
for sure. I'll keep my recent watches brief too. James mentioned that I did watch My Christmas Love, but that was pretty early in the month. I think I may have mentioned it in one of our other live streams or episodes.
our
or
last
something.
one. I think
okay.
you
yeah.
did.
But I just wanted
I
to
wasn't
shout it
there.
out
That's
again.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And then I think since we did that live stream, here's some films that I didn't mention on there. So I watched another Hallmark movie. It's actually a new one called Christmas with the Sings, and actually like pretty good.
They can do
Very-
it, man. They can do it.
They can like it. There's nothing like egregiously bad about it, and it had a really heartfelt story. So I'm like, I can't hate it. And then after that, I rewatched The Wizard of Oz, which I haven't seen in a long time. I think the last time I watched it was probably on VHS. So it's been a long time for
You
me.
gearing up for Wicked?
Maybe.
I'm gonna see it, dude. I'm gonna
I-
do it.
I feel like all of the positive reviews are making me want to see it. I seriously dislike the trailers, but I'm gonna give it a chance. I just don't know when I'm gonna see it. Because there's also a lot of other stuff that I really want to see right now. Like I really want to see Jesse Eisenberg's film A Real Pain.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
heard
that
nothing
looks
but
good.
great things about that, and it looks good. So I want to see that. And there's some other stuff coming out that I can't think of off the top of my head, or that is already out that I want to see. I watched The Holiday for the first time. Really good, really enjoyable film. I think it's interesting how you're kind of seeing like 4 different perspectives in the film, and just like how their stories like are interconnected.
Mhm.
Thematic reflections and stuff. I don't know. I really enjoyed it, and Hans Zimmer does go hard with that score.
Did I not tell you? Like
Yeah,
it. I haven't seen Punch Drunk Love, so you guys are telling me it's kind of technically a rom com, and that's a great score, and that's even better. I can't speak to that, but as far as rom coms I've seen, I don't think I've ever heard one that actually stuck out in general. But other than this one, like this one to me, he just like he does that sometimes. It has no business being that good, but like,
Yeah.
but it is. It just is. It's so good.
it really is. So yeah, watched that for the first time. Really enjoyed it. I rewatched Die Hard, and it's been I don't know, like 2 or 3 years since I last watched it. Perfect movie.
Can't wait to watch it.
I
Rewatch it.
honestly forgot like how good the action sequences hold up for an 80s film. Like it's like really good.
Yeah. No, it's just good.
Yeah.
Period.
Some great helicopter shots.
That's
There's
exactly
something-
what I thought.
There's something about helicopters like flying through skyscrapers, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is cinema right here. And
Yeah.
it's got some good stuff.
And Hans
Just like
Gruber is-
Saigon.
Oh, Hans Gruber, dude. One of the best villains.
Yes, absolutely. What a freaking great movie. And also just it's a perfect Christmas movie.
It is. By the way, when someone says Hans Gruber, I think Mick Gruber. And it makes me chuckle for a second. Him being a villain.
But yeah, that was it for my recent watches aside from Dr. No. So yeah,
Nice.
guess let's jump
get
into it. Yeah, so like I was mentioning, James kind of started James and a few other people kind of started doing like a James Bond marathon.
It was really Stone, our cyber sleuthing friend.
Yes.
Because he started his, and I'm just perpetually kind of thinking like, oh, Bond sounds fun. And then it's kind of like Michael, I was just waiting for somebody to do that. I'm like, okay, he's watching a Bond movie was watched. It's time to start. Like that's all I needed. And then it just kicked it off for me.
Yeah, and so that spiraled into like a lot of people in this group of friends that we have to start watching him. And like even before Stone and you started like the Bondathon, I had already kind of like been wanting to like watch some Bond because I watched oh gosh, what is it? The Ibira Godzilla movie. I can't remember what it's called.
Ebra, Horror of the Deep.
Yes. I watched that a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last month, I can't remember, but watched it recently, and there's so much like James Bond influence in that film.
That movie is Dr. No with a giant lobster.
It really is. And so I was already like kind of like, man, James Bond. And then yeah, it was just like that domino effect of one of y'all watching them, and then another, and I'm like, okay, I gotta do it. And then that kind of spiraled down to us like wanting to not only try out our first live stream review, but starting it off with Dr. No. I was like, that would be a fun thing to do. So that's kind of what led us here. But well, like I mentioned, I have a history with James Bond, but there's like a lot of James Bond history that I'm missing. A lot of the classics that I haven't seen. And so I'd seen this film before, once before we decided to do this whole like James Bond marathon. And I really liked it then a lot. But I think this rewatch just kind of I don't know, like opened my eyes about like how awesome this film like really is, because I think it's pretty great. I think it's super underrated, because I mean, like if you're talking to most people who are like James Bond fans, they're just gonna be like, oh yeah, Goldfinger, GoldenEye, or I feel like not, at least in a lot of experiences that I've had, not a lot of people would be talking about Dr. No, but I think it's fantastic. I think it's just such an incredible introduction to the character, and to the world of 007. So I'm a fan.
Yeah. I years ago I'd watched Dr. No up through Live and Let Die. And then just kind of got off track around there. But what's funny is, so I was watching it as this big group, like kind of like, let's get ready for No Time to Die, and then that was delayed by like a year, which just kind of deflated that whole event. But I was like, that was the only reason I started. Bond wasn't something that I was like I want to watch it because it's just such a big part of like movies and stuff, but like in my mind, like Bond wasn't a thing that got good until Casino Royale, like that's just kind of how I was. And so I was like, all right, I'll tag along. And I just recently gotten my first job after graduating, and went and bought like a really big TV with my first paycheck. So I'm like, all right, time to try this out. And so Dr. No is one of the earliest movies I watched. So I put it on, just ready to have, a fun time. And I like immediately, like I was like, whoa, this is a pretty good looking movie. Like this looks pretty nice. Like, and there's a shot of who turns out to be Felix Leiter, like standing in an airport, just kind of overlooking everybody. And I'm like, ooh, that's clean. That's a good shot. And then like whenever Bond enters the room and he goes down on one knee and you just have the legs of the girl playing golf in his room, that shot is so good. And I was like, okay, hold on. This is a real, I was not expecting this to be like a real full on movie. So I watched it, finished it, loved it. And then I called a friend and I was like, hey, this is totally random, but do you want to watch some James Bond on Saturday? And he's like, yeah, sure. I've never seen it. And we watched Dr. No. He loved it too. I rewatched it, loved it again. And then we did From Russia with Love and Goldfinger in the same day. And we're like, dude, we're Bond fans now, officially. But yeah, to me, this is such a confident first outing, such a strong debut. I know a lot of people say that like the DNA doesn't really, like the template and DNA doesn't really get established until Goldfinger. I enormously disagree. I think Goldfinger adds a bit more of like the gadgets to it, but I think the bones, like the DNA, are here. Like all of what I love about these movies are present here. Again, maybe with the exception of like it's a little less gadget heavy, but like his repartee with Moneypenny, which I love. I love his interactions with Moneypenny so much.
Yeah.
I love his dynamic with M. And it's the whole like, hey Bond, we've got this mission, we're sending you to blah blah blah, and it's going to end in the villain lair, and you got an iconic villain with something to stay, like all of that's here, you know, it's here in the very first movie, and it's so strongly directed. And Sean Connery is just like, this is so early on in his career. Like he had been doing like almost nothing movies before this, which is crazy to think now because it's like it's Sean Connery, but like this was his thing. This was his breakout role, and it's insane how confidently he stepped into the shoes. And there's some really cool behind the scenes features about how he was able to play it so well. But yeah, I really love this movie a lot.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think, you know, I'm like I said earlier, I'm a Bond noob. I've seen almost all the Craig ones. I freaking love them. But I know that those, just because I know, I'm constantly online as a movie fan. I know that those movies aren't all of like the traditional Bond fans' favorites all the time. I know they generally like Skyfall and Casino Royale are really well accepted, but
Yeah.
But I know that that's not like, oh yeah, but he's not like, you know, the suave like playboy as much as whatever. Like it doesn't have some of that Bond, you know, that DNA that some of the older ones do, and I don't know those. You know, I don't know that Bond super well yet, so I just always thought these are just great for what they are. I don't know what I'm missing, you know, but I watched Dr. No for the first time a couple of years ago, and I remember really enjoying it a lot. I didn't remember many specifics about it except a few set pieces, because in my one of the things I love about this movie is just where things take place. I just love how it looks, how it is, like where they are. And so I remembered some of that, but other than that, I didn't remember plot points or anything. And so rewatching it for this and kind of kicking off my own Bondathon, I am just like kind of like you, James, just like there's some shots that I was just like, God, that's awesome. That's like kind of modern looking a little bit. And like, you know, like they were doing this back at, what was the
63?
4?
And or 62.
62, yeah.
Okay. Even better. I mean, so but to me, the thing that like struck me immediately, and I think this is just everybody, but Sean Connery just oozes charm. And I mean, he's obviously ridiculously good looking in this movie, but he's just that. He is, in my mind, the person that I pictured when everybody else would tell me this is how James Bond really is in the old ones. Sean Connery is already embodying that now. So I don't know what's to come necessarily, but I do know that like this felt like what, you know, this didn't feel like a super disconnected thing in any way to me. This feels very much like, oh, I already see where they're doing that. I see you get, I don't know. I very much feel like this has the makings of like the bones of what he becomes and of what the franchise becomes already. But I, as far as just like the movie itself, outside of that, I love the action in it. It's really like, I love old movie sound effects, like so much. The punches and like when he like throws someone into the air and they like spin in the air and they hit the ground. It's like the most loud hit ever, and it's just it's so great. I
love the sounds of bullets.
The sounds of bullets, I love it. The sounds of bullets in a sight, like a gun in a sight with a silencer.
Yeah,
I love that sound, and that sound coupled with a great line, like right after it. I mean, it's just, or right before it, I guess. But it's just, I loved so much about just what this movie is doing. Like, I feel like what I'm gonna know. I feel like maybe I'm just guessing. My hunch is that plot wise, a lot of these might get to start feeling like I feel about Mission Impossible, which is a lot of the stories kind of are the same kind of a formula kind of a thing. and they might start getting mixed up in my head, but what I'm going to stick around for is I'm just going to be here for Bond. And I love what Sean Connery is doing in every scene. And even like the little things, like there's the scene where he's at this house and he is like he puts powder on the briefcase, and
Yeah.
like he puts this little hair across two of the closet doors so he knows if that's broken or if it's gone, someone's opened it. Like just like stuff like that. I love old time spy stuff, and so like just that kind of stuff I'm so beyond here for. Him just like that guy coming into his room like trying to kill that person, trying to kill that lady, and him just sitting in the corner with his gun with the silent. I'm just here for all that. That's kind of what I'm here for. And to me, on top of that, with that stuff, on top of just the set pieces and the locations, the secret island and all that stuff, like I just feel like this movie was kind of made for me with this, in this particular style. I don't know what's to come. I don't know what I'm gonna like, I don't know if I'm gonna like differ in opinions from you guys on certain, my favorite Bond or anything like that. But I just know that they have a lot to live up to with Connery here. I don't know how they're gonna do this. So, but I know that I do know just from people talking about it. I know this series has its ups and downs, so I'm bracing for it.
Yeah. I mean, like even as someone who hasn't seen all of the films, it definitely has some ups and downs, but I love the action in it. Like I truly do. And like one thing that I do really love about the action, and I mentioned it in my review, and I talked to Curry a little bit about it in our group chat, but the editing is really good. The editor just like had this really like conscious decision of like these like quick rapid cuts, which just like adds so much like tension and intensity to the action sequences, which like I found like it just really worked for me. I thought it was like a great stylistic choice, because like a lot of times when you watch stuff from the 60s, and like I'm using a TV show in comparison just because it's like what I know, but like Star Trek, when they're like punching each other, like a lot of times like it looks really goofy because you can tell they're just standing around and like they throw a punch and it's really slow, and it's like, there's not a lot of tension there. You can tell it's like very staged, but like I felt like the way that they shot this, the way that it was edited, really adds a lot of weight to the action sequences, especially when they're doing like hand-to-hand combat. I think like obviously like the guns and stuff are great in this, but like from a hand-to-hand combat standpoint, I thought it was like really impressive. But
There's
good.
You have the box collection, right?
Yeah.
The special features included are pretty great.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch them.
There's speaking of like what you're talking about with the editor, which is really cool. So the editor of this film, Peter Hunt, is the director of On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So he was like just the editor for the series, and then he gets his chance. And that's the whole thing of like it came out to really mixed reception, and people are like, this is too different, blah, blah, blah. And then fast forward decades, and people are like, wait a second, this is one of the best movies in the series, and it's freaking awesome. And I'm glad that happened, because that movie is amazing. But there's a great interview where he was talking about, he's like, yeah, the conventional wisdom is you let the action happen, you let the beat complete. And then once the action, like that thing, whether it's a shot or a punch or somebody broke or whatever, you let that whole thing play out and then you cut. And he was like, I was just cutting on action all the time, and it just kept everything moving fast and fast and fast. Like it's just, it kept it from kind of feeling like maybe a bit of that like slow lumbering 60s feel that other media of the time has.
Yeah. And I will say that's not to like downplay like other like classic like 60s media. Like I love Star Trek.
Oh, yeah.
and I love how goofy the action sequences can be sometimes. Like it has a charm to it. But I think
Batman.
like just on this
Yeah.
I think just on this rewatch for Dr. No, it's just something that like really stuck out to me. And I'm like, this is really impressive and feels ahead of its time. And then like in other ways, with it mostly being shot on location when they're in Jamaica, I thought that was really cool because like how many 60s films or shows do you watch where it's just painted like backgrounds the
Yeah.
entire time and you can clearly see that they're, you know, on a studio in Hollywood or something like that. But there's a lot of like, I don't know, just like the sets and the set pieces in this film like are just very tangible in ways that I wasn't expecting. And so just a lot of little details like that really make me appreciate it for what it is. But to go back to what I was gonna say, what I was originally gonna follow up with the action sequences, I found the like obviously the action sequences are great, but I really love how like in the slow and quiet moments when it's just talking, I'm like super invested. When James Bond is just being James Bond, like I'm having a great time. I think it's just as engaging as when we actually get to the action sequences. Cause like I think of James Bond as like, oh yeah, they're action films. But like Dr. No has a lot of moments throughout the film where like, you know, there's no guns, there's no punching. James Bond is just talking and he's got so much like swagger and like charm, and it's super entertaining to just watch him talk to people or to like riz people up.
Yeah.
Curry, really quick. Curry says, I hate over edited fight sequences, but there's a rhythm to them in these films with this style that reminds me why I thought why that thought got popular in the first place. Because when well done, it's awesome. So
It's true.
yeah, just wanted to say that real quick.
Yeah. But so to what you were just saying, Drew, I guess both about the location and then just like the feel of like the downtime in it. When I love the location so much in this movie. Like it's such a big reason why I love it. Like just the setting that the open air bar is like just iconic to me.
Yeah.
You know, the hotels that just are constantly overlooking like the ocean and stuff. Like the vibes, like the downtime vibes of this movie are like extraordinary.
Yes.
And yeah, I love the tangibility of it all because it is on location, because they're really going to places, because they're out on a boat and stuff. And then I'm a sucker for like cool villain layers, and this movie goes so hard with the villain layers. And it's another fun fact that I got from the features is so the production and set designer, like he blew Terrence Young away because he basically had to create all of this while Young was away in Jamaica shooting, and then he came back and he was like, "Oh my goodness, you've created something incredible." And then Stanley Kubrick watched Dr. No and loved it so much he hired the production designers. Like, "I need you now. You're working for me now." But yeah, Kubrick was a massive fan of this one too.
That's how you know it's good.
Yeah. But then I'm with you. I love I do love the action. This is not a knock against that. I think the action is so good. It's so fun. Really well done. Really intentional. It's got a nice feeling of like being dangerous. But I love the secret agent part too. Like I love the agent in the field. There's a scene when he first checks into his hotel, and it's like 2 minutes of him walking around looking for bugs, looking for listening devices, getting his stuff ready. And during that whole sequence, they're going like da 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 da, like really going at it. And it's because the movie is aware that like, hey, this is part of the excitement too. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is cool. This is the whole thing, is like you're always looking over your shoulder. You got to be careful with all of this stuff. And so whether it's that, the powder on the briefcase, the hair on the door. I also love like when he gets to the airport and then he's like, wait a second, and he calls like the Jamaican embassy and he's like, did you send a car? And it's like, I thought you didn't want it. And it's like, oh, you're right. But then he gets in the car anyways because he's like, I'm gonna see where this goes. Like, I love that kind of stuff. And then being like, he told me there was nothing to the rocks, but their reading is radioactive. Like, it's just like, see, this is fun. This is cool. Like, I love the
Yeah.
actual agent in the field stuff too, beyond just the action. And so
Yeah.
all of the interviewing he does of people and eventually tracking things down to like Crab Key, I'm like, this is, and then like the idea of the local legend of the drought, like all of this stuff, I'm like, this is so compelling to me. This is just as important to like a spy movie as anything else. And I just think it does it so well.
Yes, it's fantastic. Curry just shouted out the spider sequence, and I was actually reading about that. So the stuntman who was like standing in for that sequence, he said it was like the scariest stunt that he ever did. And basically like they had like a glass like pane like above him, and the spider was crawling on that. I don't know, like it looks really convincing that
Holy
the
cow, I
spider's
didn't-
actually like crawling on him. But yeah, like I don't know how they did that. So that was like some crazy movie magic, but
Ugh.
terrifying.
I hate spider stuff, but it was
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I mean, to Curry's point, yeah, it's so high tension, the high stakes. It's,
I love how sweaty. Like, he's just like the tension
Yeah.
of just like he's drenched. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy
Oof.
thinks he's about to die.
Yeah.
yeah, and I have to shout out the music and the lack of music too. There's a lot of sequences in this movie where the choice was to have no music at all, and I know maybe that was a little more common in older movies anyway, but I think nowadays the habit is to have music going at all times, even if it's just like a drone, like atmospheric sound, which is great if that's what the scene calls for. But I just love certain scenes when they opt to go no music at all. And this music in this movie, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like, and I could be misremembering or just mixing up scenes, but that last sequence with like the at the lair where it was about to blow up and stuff. That's that high stake.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's no music because you're just getting all the sound design.
Exactly.
Of, like, the
It's
explosions.
all
and the
sound
gas
design,
leak and-
all people yelling, all like this, like, beeping and crashing and water boiling and punching sounds and all this, but there is no music. If I remember correctly, there is no music there. And I was like, how? I mean, that's not normal. Even for older movies, they usually would have music going there. And that was a choice. And I actually felt the tension so much more there than if there was music. And I just thought I wanted to shout that out because I always love when movies decide to go no music and it pays off in a big way. Just recently, Dune Part 2 had a scene.
Oh, yeah.
The battle, the fight scene at the end, with Paul and
Fade.
Rafa, yeah, and it was it added so much to the film. I love stuff like that, but also John Barry's theme. Oh, when it is going, I texted the group this earlier. I was like, this theme is iconic for a reason. When it's going and several times in this film, it goes balls to the walls really hard, and it is awesome. It just gives me chills every time. The drums are like crashing, and like it's just so good. Like, I would love to play that in a band. It would just feel yeah, it's awesome. But I'm also a little bit, I just wanted to see if you guys watch a lot more behind the scenes stuff. The composer on the film other than I know that's John Barry's theme, but it says music composed by Monty Norman. So I guess it also says that he did a bunch of other Bonds. So I was just wondering if y'all knew any stuff with that, because I always thought, oh, John Barry just did the Bond movies like back in the day, but apparently, I don't know. I'm seeing composer on a lot of other Bond movies for this guy, and I didn't know if you guys knew anything about that.
So from what the behind the scenes made it out to be is that the composition, most of the music, including the theme itself, was composed by Monty Norman, and then John Barry kind of did the final like classic arrangement of it.
Okay. Okay.
But like the actual like music was written by,
because Monty Norman doesn't get credit for that. I always hear John Barry did that.
But Monty Norman is the guy who's, well, because there's an interview with him where he said that like he had written an older song that he didn't really do anything with, and in it it's like a slower version, but it's like there's notes in it that go da 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 da, and he's like, and I grabbed that from like years ago, and I made the Bond theme out of like these old notes.
Wow.
So
okay, so then Monty Norman's theme then, because I want to make sure he gets the credit, because I do feel like I've heard people talk about John Barry's theme for James Bond. I've heard people say that a lot. I don't hear them say Monty Norman, so I just want to. I just
shout
know
out
it was,
Monty.
Yeah, shout out Monty. I didn't know what was up with that. Justice for Monty, I guess.
Well, fortunately, like the special features, he's featured heavily.
That's good. That's good.
And what's really funny is we almost didn't get this theme. The whole reason it happened was he was like, I don't really know if I want to, but they really wanted him, and so they're like, we're shooting on location in Jamaica. If you say yes, you and your wife get to fly out and stay for free. And he's like, all right, I'll do it.
Wow. What a decision to be based off of that. That's so funny.
That's awesome.
Okay, hold on. Let me Curry real quick says no music hurts some of these films like Diamonds Are Forever. Okay, James disagrees?
No.
Oh.
I hard agree. Diamonds Are Forever is the worst movie I've seen in the franchise before.
Okay. I'm kind of excited to watch the ones that are bad too.
Yeah, there's a reason to be excited about the bad ones. I'll say that.
But he says, but not this one. I'd say that I can recall probably top 5 iconic film theme, and it's not John Williams. That's true, because John Williams, I feel like, has the ones that you hum. All the themes that people hum, they're all John Williams. Other than this, though, yep. And I put it up there too. It's worthy to be up there, 100%. I agree.
So easy to hum. I find myself humming it all the time.
And it is James Bond. Like it just makes him feel so cool, as even cooler than Connery already did himself. So, yeah.
And I love that, like, it's a theme that's stuck with the entire franchise. Mm-hmm. And there's always like different renditions of it throughout the entire franchise. Like I am a huge sucker for when like film scores or like video game soundtracks like keep a coherent theme throughout a franchise. Like it's like, if it's iconic, why, like, don't get rid of it. Keep it. You use it in different ways, in sequels or whatever, but like the James Bond theme seriously never gets old. Like anytime I'm like walking in a like grocery store and it's got like automatic like doors, I'm like
just you walk in adjusting your non-existent cufflinks,
Yeah, and then you just hear the guitar start playing.
I just watched On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and that has like, it's got the like, there's a lot of recurring themes in it, but there's like, since it's late 60s, you're getting like weird like harpsichord stuff. It's really cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
But there is a sequence where it's like, all right, surfer rock guitar Bond theme is back. Yes. And when it dropped, I got chills. I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. Oh, so yeah, like they know they had gold. They knew.
Yes.
Let's see. Curry says, Drew makes a good point, which is why I may be okay with the new Superman using Williams' theme. Is that going to happen?
I hope not. I'm gonna have to disagree with Curry on that one.
No. Sometimes it depends on the thing. So like for me, I love John Williams. We all love John Williams. If you don't, that's dumb. And you don't like music. But
I would just shut up and go home.
honestly. But I do think that sometimes franchises, especially big ones like Star Wars or James Bond, you can rest in your nostalgia to a little too much. And I think there have been points in Star Wars, for instance, where it's like, okay, we get it, the Force theme or the Luke Skywalker theme, however you want to look at it. I feel like you guys are overusing it a bit, even though it's great. We love it, but what if you made something new but still like true to the old stuff? So which is why when people complain about not using like more traditional Star Wars themes in some of these newer shows and stuff, I never agree with that, because I'm like, no, take Star Wars in new places, but honor the past. Don't always rely on the past and rest in it. I think that stuff like that for Star Wars and even for Bond, I think can, I think it can hurt a thing, but I think so. I don't know. I think for the new Superman, I will want a new theme, especially since you also have Hans Zimmer's theme, for the Man of Steel, which
I was
is
gonna say, like, Superman, like, it doesn't matter which property, like which film it is. It doesn't matter if it's a video game, like whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Whatever media it is, Superman always has incredible themes.
Yep.
Whichever composer's working on it. And so I think like I'm 100% down for a completely new Superman theme that is going to be the next Superman theme that's iconic, you know? Cuz like when I think of Superman, like sure, like sometimes I'll think of John Williams' score, but like honestly for me, I think of Hans Zimmer's score.
Man, it's good.
What are you gonna do when you're not saving the world is like top 5 track of all time
Yes.
for me.
Yes.
Oh God.
Also, I'm a huge fan. I can't remember what the track name is, but it's the one. It's one of General Zod's themes,
Oh, yeah.
and like it goes like dun 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 dun
dun, dun,
so
yeah,
freaking good.
Hans was cooking on that one. I'm not
Oh.
gonna lie, but
Yes.
I think I do think with Bond there is something about at least that main theme at some point.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what's really cool about the series is that is the thing, because I agree. Like I would, if I went and saw a new Bond movie and you didn't have that, I'd be like, it feels like sacrilegious. This feels wrong. Like you're not supposed to do. But what they do, they've hit this perfect mixture of like maintaining that while still feeling fresh. Because from once you get to the next one, From Russia with Love and on, each movie gets an original song written for it. And the score weaves
Love that tradition,
in,
by the way.
Well, I love the tradition, but it's even cooler here because the score, like the actual movie score, weaves in the theme of that original song into its score. So cool. Like that becomes the main theme of that particular movie, and then you also get like these exclamation points of the Bond theme as well. So it's like you're always getting a new main motif with every movie, plus the Bond theme during moments that just scream for it.
Yeah,
and I'm a bona fide Bond song lover. Like 90% of these original songs are freaking bangers. I love them,
dude. I know it's a newer one, but Skyfall goes hard. It's so good. I can't wait to get to that one again.
Billie Eilish's song for No Time to Die is great too.
It's a great song. I've heard it. I haven't seen the movie, but I've heard her song.
Also, Zimmer crushes that score. It's so good. Very underrated.
Oh,
Chris Cornell still got the best song though.
What'd you say?
I said Chris Cornell still got the best Bond song though.
What did he do?
You
Which
know my
movie?
name, Casino Royale. That
Okay.
is
Okay.
oh, that's awesome.
I'm honestly really excited to get to the Craig ones again. I really am.
I'm
I think
excited
they're so
too.
good. But I'm excited to watch the ones I haven't seen. But yeah, I loved talking about the music for so long.
Well, it
I
needs it.
really do. I really
It
do.
does.
It's so good. You go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say what? Well, we've already kind of talked a lot about like Connery, but are there things to y'all that just like stick out? That you're like, this was just a moment, or I'm like, okay, this guy is incredible, or they just like are where your memory goes to with this.
My memory for this movie is going to go to mostly moments with Connery just saying lines, like the way he looks when he says them. I don't know, they're just like the charm that he just is literally like oozing, not even trying. And like that line we talked about. What was it?
Yeah, this
It's
scene,
a-
like,
It's a Smith and Wesson.
yeah, to describe the
Ugh.
scene. I mean, if you're listening, hopefully you've seen the movie, but yeah, like it's the scene that Michael talked about earlier. Whenever a guy shows up to Bond's room to kill him, and he opens the door, like going up to the bed, and Bond's got like pillows under the covers and stuff, and he's just sitting so like nonchalantly and coolly with the pistol with the silencer like just on his knee behind the door, waiting for him to sit down. And the guy coming in unloads his gun on the bed, and then he finds out that it's there, and so or that it's the pillow, and then they talk for a little bit, and he reveals stuff, and then the guy tries to shoot Bond, and he clicks, and it's empty, and Bond just shoots him right there, which was another really controversial decision. They went back and forth. There's like, do we have Bond shoot an unarmed man? And they were like, you know what? He's a secret agent, and he's got to be ruthless. He's got to be
a
ruthless.
license to kill.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And so Bond shoots him like 2 or 3 times, and he goes, "That's a Smith and Wesson, and you've had your 6." And it's like, oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
gosh,
It's so good. And
Yeah.
just the way that he delivers that line. It's just I texted the group immediately because it's like this has got to be one of those lines that this is why people love his rendition of this. But also we've talked about it before. I even from the first time I watched it, I remember the set pieces. I remember the ending in the volcano lair or whatever. And even just the island itself. It kind of I brought this up on another movie and I can't remember which one it was. But this one had it too. It kind of gave me Swiss Family Robinson vibes a little bit. Just the being on the island with the ocean behind and like having to defend yourself from people chasing or whatever. It just kind of gave me that same, a lot more, dangerous. Swiss Family Robinson is a family movie. And this one is, a little more brutal. It's not crazy, but it is, it kind of gives me that similar vibe. So it was a little bit nostalgic for me. While I love the green. I love all the green. Kind of like there's something about when movies have a lot of forests in them as a set piece and they're actually there that just sticks in my mind as something I love. Skyfall did it. Star Wars has done it with Endor. This did it here. There's something about it. Even a movie I don't really love, Kong Skull Island, the green. I remember that movie is just a lush green with like a yellow tint over it, but
it's got the Apocalypse Now tint over it.
It does, but it's very the forest is, or the jungle is very green. Jurassic Park, like Lost, all of these things. I love jungle movies. I love jungle and forest in movies, and so like
which we don't get too much of. Like obviously, like it's always iconic when we do, but like like what's
People
the last one that we had? You know what I mean? Jumanji. With Dwayne the Rock.
No.
Oh God. But yeah, those are going to be to me the things that stand out. Just in general, Sean Connery as Bond just kind of all encompassing, and the set pieces are so good. I also really love the sidekick. I cannot remember his name. The guy that did the boat.
Squirrel.
Yes. I remembered. I don't know how spoilery we're being. I guess we are being pretty spoilery.
I
Yeah.
feel like this is a full movie review.
Yeah. So I remembered he died at one point. I did not remember how he died. I hated that. That was so sad. Like it was so brutal. I didn't hate it. Like I hate this movie now. I really liked him a lot. And I liked the introduction. We're led to not trust him at first, and then when we see that he's in league with the CIA guy, who honestly looks like Johnny Knoxville, like when he was really young, with his shades on. But I love how everything was so tense, and then all of a sudden it was just like, oh, cool, let's go eat dinner. Like, and I from that point on, I just loved that character. He was just such a, like, even when he was like, I don't know, he was kind of like hesitating on whether or not to help, and then he was like, I'll be there at 7:30. Like, I loved all of that stuff. So to me, those are the things that are gonna stand out the most to me.
Yeah, he was a really good screen presence. I think, like, you guys already, like, we already mentioned the Smith and Wesson lines. Obviously, the most iconic scene from this film that everyone goes to is whenever, like, he actually has his name revealed, like Bond, James Bond. That's awesome. I love the whole, like, the way it's shot when they're like all playing poker and stuff. Poker is like the coolest like vibe for movies. Like, if you've got a scene with a bunch of people playing poker and drinking and smoking, that is, I want to be there.
Yeah.
Sorry, quick aside. Have y'all seen Maverick?
Yeah, a long time ago.
I know, I haven't.
It's Mel Gibson and James Garner. And
Jodie Foster, right?
Jodie Foster. And it's hilarious and it's so good, but it's got tons of poker scenes. And I just love it. I honestly think y'all would, Drew, I know you haven't seen it, but I think y'all would love it, and I think we should cover it. Nobody would listen to it, but I freaking love Maverick.
All of our dads would listen to it.
All of our dads would definitely listen to it.
It's a hardcore dad movie.
Oh my gosh. James Garner is so good. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I also a few scenes that, like, a few moments with Bond that I really liked. Whenever we actually get, like, the reveal of Spectre, or like Dr. No being a part of Spectre, and he like starts like explaining, like, it's the special executive for counterintelligence, terrorism, revenge, and extortion, the 4 great cornerstones of power, headed by the greatest brains in the world. And then I love James Bond's response, where he's just like, correction, criminal brains. I'm just like, what a savage.
And then he was like, I'd like to be in the revenge department or whatever.
A good back and forth where the hero meets the villain and they get at least just one full long scene to dialogue back and forth. This one to me delivered. Like, I love their back and forth in this.
Yeah, it's really good. I also like I like whenever Dr. No is talking about how, like the reason why he's doing what he's doing, like, his motive is because, like, the Americans turned down his science, the Russians turned down his science. So he was like, you know what? They're all just gonna, like, pay for, like, wronging me or whatever. And I really like the line that Bond says, where he says, world domination, the same old dream. Our asylums are full of people who think they're Napoleon or God. Like, I don't know, just his line deliveries, and, like, so good.
It was really cool.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff.
What did y'all think of Dr. No?
Cool, dude. I thought he was a cool villain. There wasn't a lot of meat there, I don't feel like, necessarily. But but I also kind of love when movies we don't see the villain to the end. You know, I kind of love that too. So I like, you know, he was a different kind of villain than say, oh man, I'm forgetting the actor's name. The amazing actor from Skyfall. Who was the villain.
Javier Bardem.
Is a different villain than that. Whereas, you know, he's in from earlier in the movie, and he has a real arc in the film, you know, and like, he is a menacing presence through the whole thing. Whereas Dr. No comes in really in the third act, but his presence is felt from the beginning. So I kind of love, it's kind of Emperor in Star Wars kind of a thing. It's like,
Yeah.
I kind of love that in certain things. And I think this movie pulled it off really well. So that's, not like the greatest villain ever, but super solid. And when he's on screen, I just think him and Bond together are awesome.
Yeah. I think their dynamic is really good. And I think, like, considering this is the first entry and, you know, James Bond is known for having iconic villains, I think this is a really good, like, just first entry villain that we have. And like, he's kind of like a mustache twirling villain, but not in like a cliche and boring way. Like, he's behind the scenes, he's working like and moving through everything, and you don't like get the reveal towards the end. But like, I think like one thing I really like about him is like he has a very like calm like demeanor.
Yep.
Like whenever he, like, all of his interactions, he's very calm. And so I think that adds a little bit of interesting elements to him. And then I also like how they already like started with like doing the like the more like quirky kind of things where, like, you know, he has the gloves over his hands.
Yeah, I really
And
like
like
Yeah.
just like giving him like just these little quirks and stuff. I really liked. I think I will say though, the like yellow face stuff in this one is like very
Yeah, you get
very
some really,
apparent.
really unfortunate instances of that. in
Yeah.
this.
Which does suck, but
Yeah.
you know,
Agreed.
Yeah. I think their attempt at an out with him is that he's Chinese German.
Mhm.
yeah,
But like there's still makeup applied, which is like, well, that's not great. Where they especially don't give themselves out, as they just the girl, like the villain girl, that he's like, well, I'll sleep with you tonight while I wait for like cavalry to come and arrest you. She is just full on in yellow face. It's like there are a lot of actresses you could have got. You did it for You Only Live Twice, you know.
yeah.
But that's unfortunate. But to me, that's like, it's a thing. I hate that it's there.
It does. It comes with the
But-
territory watching old movies in general,
Yeah,
but
for
probably
sure.
especially Bond to a degree in certain ways, especially the womanizing stuff too. I mean, this one wasn't as bad as I was expecting in that department, but there were still a couple of parts. There were still a couple of instances where I was like, ugh.
Yeah, there's some of these always walk a weird line because most of them never really get out unscathed, at least for me. I will say, like, part of it, I do think, and I think the Craig ones is like Casino Royale and then how that shapes him, they handle it in an interesting way where like there's almost an understanding, and from what I've heard, like you see these in like the Brosnan ones as well at some point, but like
Mhm.
there's an element in which like just the sex is a part of like the spy manipulation, like it's just part of the territory. And there's an argument to be like, hey, you suspend like all of our understanding of like, oh, this goes, this doesn't go, blah blah blah. You're just like, no, he's a spy, he's getting whatever he's got to get done, and if that includes like using that to manipulate somebody, that's what he's doing. And in those instances, I'm like, okay, whatever, you know, like we're already accepting that he's killing, so
Right.
for him to like seduce for Queen and Country, I think that's a line in a later movie, but that's whatever. It's whenever it's like there are moments, especially I think this one is definitely much less egregious than a couple other ones. There's a moment in Thunderball that like it's indefensibly like bad. I'm like, this is, and even in Goldeneye, there's a scene where I'm like, were you comfortable behind the camera? Being like, yep, keep going. I was like, what are you doing? In this one, the womanizing aspect, I feel mostly is either like, he's with Honey Rider and they're like whatever, like, it seems like there's a mutual attraction between the two, so it's whatever. And then with the other girl, it's like it's kind of the spy business or whatever. But yeah,
But yeah, with the one girl kind of in the second act, it was like, yeah, I know she's working with the other guys. Might as well get her.
I got 2 hours to kill.
Got 2 hours to kill. Might as well have sex a couple of times before I turn her in.
Yeah, it's that one was definitely for like the audience. You're like,
Yeah.
Right.
but,
Yeah, I think like my thing with Bond is like I don't mind Bond being like, like this like really like seductive kind of character, but I think like in some of the older Bond films, like in this one it's not as egregious as it does get later on, but I do remember like in Goldfinger there was some scenes where I'm like, yo, you're not just like, it's not just like a mutual thing here, like you are overstepping like boundaries in like a very like uncomfortable way.
wait until
And so-
you get to Thunderball, dude.
Oh, I'm preparing myself because I remember you like talking about it before and I'm like, all right. But yeah, it's like when it goes to that level, I'm like, okay, I don't like that. And I think like that's something I really like about the Craig films is like they still like keep, like Bond is sexy or whatever. Like, like the films are meant to be like a little sexy, but like they mature the character in a really brilliant way. And especially whenever you watch No Time to Die, whenever you guys watch it, I think you'll be really impressed with like the way they like handle those things. But like I really appreciate that like the franchise has kind of like grown past that. Because I mean, like part of it was, it's just kind of a thing of the times, but also it's like it's still like I can't shake the feeling of like, man, sometimes it gets a little uncomfortable to watch because it's like that's not okay.
Yeah, from the I haven't seen No Time to Die yet, but what I appreciated about the Craig ones was that they weren't like annoying about it, where they're like, you think that no, I don't do like it's not this kind of like virtue signally kind of like we're so much better, like, but they are aware. They're like, listen, some of that stuff that was done, like, you can't do that. You can't get away with it. But I think there is an understanding that on some level with Bond, like there is the idea of like, it's the stereotypical like high schooler daydreaming in the middle of class of like, what if I were saving the world and met a beautiful lady and did all this and fought a villain and saved it. Like there is the meme. This appeals to the male fantasy. Like there is a sense of like that's kind of what Bond is like the idea of like you just imagine you're globe trotting, you're going to all these beautiful locations and meeting beautiful people and stopping villains and saving the day and everybody loves you for it and yada yada yada. And there's a sense of that where you can translate that in a mostly like innocent-ish way, but it's like it's whenever, and again I know I go back to Thunderball and a particular scene in Goldfinger where it's like, I mean, at the very least, you could have been like, but she was also super, super into it, so don't worry about it. But there are just moments where it's like, you wrote that she wasn't into this. Why did you write that? You have all of the power, screenwriter.
Yeah.
Nobody forced you into this, and it's those moments where I'm like, this is just so bad.
Yeah.
About the villain, though, I like the yellow face aside, I I love his performance. I love like he's almost got this very robotic movement. Like he's usually looking forward and he kind of like turns his full head instead of just like looking back and forth. And he's got one line that I really love where he was like, "It's like I thought that you were the one who would understand, but it turns out you are just another policeman." And like the way he says it is like, oh my god,
Yeah.
that's some great like villain stuff. Like this is one of those larger than life villains that's just super like, I don't know, memorable. And you don't really see those kinds of villains a whole ton, you know.
Yeah.
So having a villain that's like, I'm here, I talk funny, I monologue, I've got like metal glove hands. That's who I am. I'm like, cool, sick, I'm down for it.
Kind of has the energy of the villain in which Mission Impossible movie would it have been? 6, Fallout. With the beard, I cannot remember his name in the movie, but just that like kind of calm, but like still very menacing. Obviously, tonally very different movies, but I love when movies have villains that are just calm and calculated.
Yeah.
And not just like, I've gotcha, which does can be fun too. But
although, okay, I'll be interested to see what you think of Goldfinger because I love that's the best part about that movie to me.
There's a place for them, and I'm not like anti them in general, but I do tend that you have to do it right.
Yeah.
And there's a fine line to walk there. It's really easy to fall off that fine line, I think. Yeah. But I'm excited. I think a lot of the iterations of Joker have kind of weirdly worked. Like Joker seems like it should be a hard character to pull off, but it feels like just about every version gets it right. I haven't seen the Justice League version, so I don't know if I want like the I'm sorry, not Justice League. The what was it? The Suicide Squad, the 2016.
You haven't seen Suicide Squad?
I've seen the Suicide Squad. I have not seen Suicide Squad.
Whoa, I did not know that. You gotta watch it. It's a guilty pleasure.
You should.
I think it's really fun, even though it's bad.
I do intend to watch the DCEU in its entirety one day. I've seen like half of it. So but I've heard mixed things about that Joker. But aside from that, a lot of the Jokers have been largely praised. And I feel like that's a line that's like, and they're all different too. So like you can really do it. So I love that. So I'm excited to see how these villains are going forward. But I really like this one. I do think him having that hand too, it was a really cool touch. And that one shot at the end of him like falling into the water, losing his grip on the on the railing. That was cool. I love that touch.
A cool little. Again, I'm just going to be the guy being like, I just watched a special feature, so now there are things that
Please, I didn't watch it, so.
There's a really cool touch. If you remember in the scene where he's already had the conversation and he's being led out, he passes by a painting and he stops and he kind of looks at the painting for a little bit. So a really cool thing is that's a real painting that was stolen a year before the movie's production, and to that point, nobody knew where it was. And so a production assistant was like, what if Dr. No stole it? And it's in his lair.
That is freaking brilliant.
Yes, so cool.
My god,
that's crazy.
I was like, what's the significance of that? They made a really big deal of it though.
Yeah,
like clearly I feel like I should know this. I just assumed that it was a pop
I thought it was like a historical
thing.
I'm like, do I just not know who this person is? But they said that and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So good. I love that.
That's awesome.
Aside from the yellow face and sexist kind of tendencies that these can have, that we already talked about, the negatives there, what did y'all have any like negatives about this movie? I don't have many, but I wanted to hear y'all's. I want to hear if y'all's match up with my main one.
For me, like by far my primary negatives were what we had just discussed there, which I feel like then, if you remove that from the table, I don't really have a whole lot. I think this movie does itself a favor by being really simplistic in that it's like you
Mhm.
get to your main location and it's kind of a stripped back kind of secret agent story. I think one of the only things, and I don't even really hate it. In fact, I don't hate it. It's just I wish that this could have been worked in more. It was Honey Rider's there so that they could have a really like a beautiful girl in like the last act, and
That's
it's like
That's so funny. That's it. That's
Okay,
exactly
yeah.
literally thought the same thing. Okay. Yep. Like
Yeah.
everything that she did in the end could have been done by the guy that was already with him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, my only like other real complaint is the female characters, especially Honey Rider. They're just there. They like don't really do much with
I'm
them.
so ready for y'all to get to on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Oh,
but I just yeah, I really think that's my main thing. I literally just didn't have, aside from the other issues we talked about, it was just like story-wise, I don't know the necessity of this character. She's just literally here just to be, she's beautiful. She really is, but that's it. Like I kind of, that kind of sucks that's what it is. But I liked I don't know. I don't think I have any other major issues with this movie. I gave it 4.5 stars. Like
I was so happy when I saw that.
Yeah,
I
it was
literally had the biggest smile.
It was 4 before this watch, and now it's, well, technically I saw on Letterboxd when I went to open it, I was like, oh no. In my mind for years, I've had this at 4 stars, but I accidentally have it at 3.5. So that was wrong. But it's 4 stars before, and now it's 4.5. There's so much to love about this movie, and really hardly anything to take away. And really the things that you take away are hardly the kind of issues of the time a little bit more.
Yeah,
you know?
like they're things
Less
that
than issues of the craft, you know.
yeah,
there's things to be like criticized for sure, but like none of it is like detrimental to the film itself,
Mhm.
which I think, like, and even like my big complaint about like the female characters not really like having much there, it's still also like, that's another thing where it's like it's not like a huge detriment to the entire like story or to the entire like rest of the film, which, like, yes, like it sucks. I'd like for these characters to be more interesting, but like I think like overall the film is just really well crafted.
Mhm.
Like James was saying, like it looks like a real movie because it is.
Yeah.
It's directed excellently, shot excellently. It's got really good performances, and like even like some of the side characters, like we were mentioning Coral, like
Mhm.
Carl.
Carl.
um,
Carl.
but like Coral is like he's just a really fun like side character that like he's
Yep.
not in the film for a long amount of time, but like his presence is very noticeable. Like he's just a really entertaining character to have
Yeah.
along with Bond.
I also like Felix Leiter. I like the CIA guy. Like,
I did
yeah.
too.
He's
I did too.
such a like this is the American guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's very clearly like the all-American CIA agent, but and it's funny, he's recurring, but like a different actor every time he shows up. So it's like,
Oh, really?
He looks this time. But,
Hmm.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot too. He was cool.
And then also M and Moneypenny are great
Love
too.
him and Moneypenny.
Just- I don't know them enough yet, and they didn't have much in this movie, just a little bit at the beginning. And so I'm excited to, are they the same?
They're
actors?
the same, and they're the same throughout, and it's generally like they get typically about the same amount of screen time. But like we talked about it on the Scream episode when we talked about slashers. I'm a big like sucker for like consistency and repetition in a franchise, and so like, you know, he walks in the room and he throws his hat at the hat rack, like he's like, that's his way of entering, and like he always, the whole joke is that like Moneypenny knows that he's like this gallivanting womanizer, and he playfully denies, is like, I only have eyes for you, and like doing the fake dance with her. Like, weirdly enough, like, despite the fact that maybe not as much here, but definitely in other movies, some of his like womanizing stuff gets like, there's something about like just his dynamic with Moneypenny where he just pretends it's like, no, that's not me, that's not me, you know, that's not me, and she's like, oh yeah, I know, but like it's really like their back and forth is really funny, and I love that like when he walks into M's office though, M has like this immediate ability to make him like feel like a schoolboy in trouble, where he's like he is the like the only guy who could just like straight up talk down to Bond and put him in his place. And so like they don't typically get these huge moments, but you're like, oh, this is the scene where he jokes with Moneypenny. This is the scene where M gives him his mission. This is like, and it's that same kind of like book ending of movies that I don't know. I find a weird amount of comfort in that kind of repetition.
Yep.
One other little thing I'll say, and this is not really a negative about this. It's just kind of what films were at this time. It's when 60s movies in particular try to do things that look, and I'm not talking. Yeah, I guess this would be. When did 2001 come out? A Space Odyssey?
68.
Okay, so that movie does not count here. But every other movie that I've seen or show, 60s futuristic things, like in this movie, I'm talking about really like the lab at the end, like the very end, like with the big computers and stuff like that. That stuff is so funny to me when in old movies now.
I love it though.
I love it, but it's also goofy, and it kind of like the rest of this movie isn't goofy. It really, I mean, it's fun, but it's not just goofy. And that stuff, it reminds me of like I Dream of Jeannie, because he like the main guy in that movie, in that show, was an astronaut. And so you see stuff at like NASA and stuff, and you see these or like the 60s Batman Batcave. Like it's funny to me. It's not something I dislike, but it's something that kind of takes a little bit of the seriousness out of it. So part of me kind of wishes it was a little bit different, but part of me is also like, I kind of love it too. I don't know. It's a little bit mixed, but the ending with all that stuff, I was like, at first I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. And then the tension just built up so well, just like from a directing and editing standpoint, and just no music. I think that scene was handled masterfully. So really didn't affect me, but I did want to bring that up because I think it's funny what those like 60s, what computers are like and stuff like that. It's just so funny to me.
There's something I love about retrofuturism though, like just the big bulky curvy stuff. I'm like,
it's funny, but it's not like I said, it's not really a negative, but it does kind of take a little bit of the stakes out, just a little bit for me for some reason, just takes me out of it a little bit. But they didn't know any better. Like what are they gonna do? And so, but I like I said, it's kind of like in the midst of that, the direction and the editing and the acting and everything in that scene was just so superb. It was like at some point I stopped noticing any of that, and it was just so good.
I was gonna say like that like retro futuristic stuff doesn't bother me at all. I freaking love it. Actually, I wish more modern movies that would like lean into stuff like that, because I think there's just something really fun about it. And then you can look back at it and be like, oh, well, like the technology didn't do that in this year. There's something, I don't know, something almost like timeless about it in a way. But I was gonna say,
interesting.
Like
I'm the opposite. It dates
like technically, yes, it does date it, but like I think like because they're like trying something that like isn't in our reality, like it just creates its own reality, which like for me it makes it timeless.
And I think like with the production designer, I think it wasn't really an attempt to be realistic or to predict technology.
No.
It was like I think why it almost feels a little timeless to me as well, because like retrofuturism kind of became like a label that other movies have, like not super often, but like other modern movies have kind of been like, we're intentionally like that kind of that vibe, is by not trying to be realistic and just going off and being like, I'm inventing something that doesn't exist and won't exist. It then kind of doesn't. I don't. It's a thing that never existed and won't, which means, I guess for me, feels semi kind of like timeless because it's never really of a.
It's like Back to the Future 2, kind of like, you know, what they thought the future would,
Yeah,
the 80s would look like, or whatever the 2000s would look like, where however far ahead they went. It's like that didn't happen, but
yeah,
so it kind of seems otherworldly now. But yeah, I get it. I see what y'all are saying. It, like I said, doesn't actually bother me truly, but I do sometimes have to. I laugh at it a little bit. It's kind of funny to me, but
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to say, I think another thing that like really surprised me about this film, I love how serious it is, because I always like had in my mind, especially because a lot of people were like, you know, they'd say like, oh, the old James Bond movies are like really cheesy and like goofy and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that it never gets to that point in some of them, but like I think like this one has like a very like serious tone, and it takes itself very seriously. And it's, you know, it's not like, you know, like there's blood in it. Like it's got like a little bit of a dark tone to it, even though it's like a fun movie. I just think like tonally it takes itself seriously, which I think also like really helped me like buy into the villain, because they take the villain seriously too. Which I don't know, on this rewatch, that's just something that like really like stuck out to me, because like, again, like I feel like a lot of people are like, old James Bond is cheesy, and like, yeah, I love it, it's nostalgic or whatever, but I'm like, Dr. No is like actually like very serious. It's never like just overly goofy or anything, which is really impressive for the time, I think.
I agree. I love how they started the movie. Like, you go from this kind of it could have been, it's like, okay, here we go. I was actually kind of expecting a little bit of goofiness, because they was doing that 3 blind mice thing.
I love that the silhouette of them walking.
Yeah, it was great. But I expected to go into like a goofy scene, but they start the movie with those 3 blind mice off in a girl. Like they kill her. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was like not a goofy thing. It was like, it was serious. It was a serious tone. And I was like, okay, right away from the beginning, they let you know what this movie is. It's for real. And then, yes, there, like you said, Drew, there's fun moments in the movie. Connery, just as he is fun as this character, but he's also playing it seriously and earnestly. There's not like there's not a you know, a lot, you know, the modern term would be like quippiness. There's not a quippiness to these movies, or at least to this movie. And so I wholeheartedly agree, Drew. I appreciated that so much, and I kind of wish all Bond movies had this template, but I don't know. I'm just saying that, not having seen the goofy ones, maybe I'll love those.
I think you're gonna. I think Dr. No and From Russia with Love make a great like little back-to-back duology. I think just by nature of what they are, you know, once Goldfinger comes in and starts introducing like, you know, gadgets into like the DNA, and I love gadgets. I love big cool 60s gadgets. I love all that stuff. It wasn't a negative
like
introduction.
Laser pens, dude. Like, explosive gum.
And
Let's
like,
go.
oh yeah, I'm into that. And like this isn't a spoiler, but Goldfinger has like the best line ever when he's got this big bulky machine like ready to attack Bond, and Bond's like, "You expect me to talk?" And Goldfinger's like, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." And it's like, oh, I love this. But like, so I love the gadgets being introduced, but I do think Dr. No and From Russia with Love are definitely like the most grounded kind of like, this is before that aspect, and so these are mainly just like full on like spy thriller type movies.
I gotta say, and again, not seen the others, I like that the Craig Bond goes back to that, because it does feel very that they go darker sometimes, but there's still plenty of fun. And
Yeah.
Daniel Craig is so good. I love Daniel Craig as James Bond. And he's still super charming. It's just different than
Yeah.
Sean Connery. But I love that they went more serious in tone, but still with humor. Still plenty of humor.
And that's kind of why I'm hoping that the next one, if it's Aaron Taylor Johnson, that they lean a little bit more fun and like kind of mission of the movie, kind of like I think the template of Bond lends itself to all these different tones, because like
Sure.
Casino Royale and Skyfall are still like in whichever order like my top two. Like I love those movies so much. But we had our, you know, our 5-part kind of darker tone Craig series. And so like my dream was someone like Hiddleston getting the role, and I want Peter Jackson to direct a fun Bond movie so bad.
I would love to see Hiddleston.
Yeah.
Although it also, Henry Cavill does kind of feel like one of those like everybody wants him to be, and I totally agree. I think he would crush it, and he would crush it as a fun one or serious. You could go either way with him.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah.
Yeah, I definitely I'd love to see. I've said it so many times, but I want to see the next iteration of Bond be fun. But I think taking the Dr. No approach, where it's like it's fun, but it takes itself seriously, and you can buy into it. Like, I want to have quirky villains, I want to have interesting villains, and I want to have gadgets, which I know Dr. No doesn't have. But it's like, you know,
Taika should direct it.
No, shut up.
All right, we're ending the stream now.
Hey, he did.
No, I love Taika. I just don't want him doing this. Go back and continue to do original stuff, because I like his original stuff.
Yes,
a lot.
Just keep him away from.
I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. I got to bring it up once per episode.
Once. Yeah. But I'm with you.
Love and Thunderball.
That's great, actually. I need to see an edit now. Somehow Thunderball is the better movie of the two. Boy. Anyways, I'm with you on that tone though, Drew. Like, because we were talking earlier about like, what do we like to see just over Messenger? Like, what do we want to see? Yeah. And I feel like if that's the case, then like we're pretty much in agreement. Where I'm like, because like Dr. No as a villain couldn't have walked into a Craig Bond movie and worked. You know, he's like, you know, his metal gloves and his very, this is how I talk, Mr. Bond. It's like that. Craig's was so real world, you know. And so I would love a pivot back to where like a villain like Dr. No could walk into and be at home.
Yes.
You know.
And I think like I said, I think setting it like as a period piece, like how, like, let's say like the next iteration of Bond is a trilogy, setting them in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s, you know, whatever.
That's what Tarantino wanted to do.
Yeah, like whatever year, like whatever decade you pick, but setting it into another time period, I think can also really like lend itself to having villains that are a little bit larger than life in those ways, because it fits the era of films that like released in that time period. and then I also think like just I think limiting the technology that Bond can
Yeah.
use is something that would be really interesting. And you have these weird, crazy gadgets, but with limited technology. I think that's just where they could get really, really creative with things.
That would force the actor too. I think you'd have to rely more on his own charm and physicality
Yes.
and all that stuff. Which is, again, I think Henry Cavill would crush that. I think he would be so good.
I keep saying it, but I honestly would. Henry Cavill would be great. Aaron Taylor Johnson, I also think would be great.
Yeah.
I keep going
It's
back
probably
to
going to be him.
it probably will. But if I could have anyone, I think it really would be Dev Patel for me, because he can be charming, he can be funny, he can be serious, he can be all the things. He's like such a varied actor, and he can also do action now too, like really good.
He
And
is,
I think-
he is super underrated, man. I do love Dev Patel
Yes.
a lot.
And I think like you could also do some like, because you know the older Bond films are just a reflection of like the Cold War, right? And like a lot of the Bond films have like this geopolitical like, you know, like it's a part of the, it's a part of like its DNA. And so I'm like, man, if you had an actor like Dev Patel, you have that history of like, let's say like set it in the 60s, 70s, whatever era, right? Have Dev Patel as the actor for Bond, and then you have this history of England like colonizing like India, and like I just feel like you could play with so much interesting like history, and like incorporate that and just like make like a really like interesting like political spy thriller with like a time period, or like with the period piece, with like incorporating history, adding in those gadgets, having a fun, charming character or actor like Dev Patel. Like, oh man, that's
We
my
just
dream,
got Army
but-
Hammer.
That's the least problematic person you could have chosen.
Yeah. He'll just eat his fellow cast members.
Oh, dude, the womanizing
Produced by
Armie
Harvey
Hammer with-
Weinstein.
Oh well.
Gosh, if Peter Jackson was directing a Bond film, he'd make the Bond villain look like Harvey Weinstein.
I can't overstate to y'all how much I would love for Peter Jackson to direct
Dude,
one.
I after seeing The Frighteners, I still need to see Braindead, but after seeing The Frighteners, I'm like, man, I'd love to see like that side of.
He's probably the number one Bond fan in the world, and like, man, he would be.
Yes.
Stone says Rob Pattinson would be great too, but he's
Yes.
busy being Batman. I agree. I would love to see. I think he'd be awesome as well.
He would be incredible, but yeah,
I think a lot of people would do it really well. I think him and Dev Patel lend themselves to me, at least just from what I've seen, more serious route. At least.
That's why I want him. I feel like Tom Hiddleston could go the fun
Dude,
route.
I
so
love the idea of Tom
well.
Hiddleston. I think he is so good, and he can do the serious, but he is so funny
yeah.
and very charming in a kind of a unique way.
Well, they basically went like the direction that they went with Loki was entirely because of him.
Yeah.
Like we was like, dang, this guy's too likable. Like we need more of that.
Yeah. Well, he auditioned for Thor, and he was one of the finalists, and they were like, "Hey, actually, we want you to do this one in this character instead." And I'm glad they did. But yeah, you're right. It's just kind of them basing it off of him, and he was so good. Ended up being truly one of the best 3 characters, I think, in the entire MCU. But
Yeah, it would be, or even Tom Hiddleston as a Bond villain. I could take that too.
he could play
but-
either way, dude. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it would be interesting to see him kind of taken out of this like MCU spotlight and have like, I'd love to see him in a lead role where he kind of steps away from Loki and can be known as not just the Loki guy. Because I feel like right now that's all he's really known as.
If you could choose one actor to be the next Bond villain, who would it be?
Ooh.
Okay, this is tough. This is tough because one of my favorite villain actors has already been a Bond villain, and it's Christoph Waltz.
Yeah.
And I think he was a little bit underutilized, at least my recollection. I can't wait to rewatch it and see if I still feel that way.
No, yeah, that's how I felt.
Yeah, I was like, how do you hardly have any screen time? And this is freaking Christoph Waltz.
yeah. And Blofeld, the most iconic villain of all time.
Which I don't know who that is. So like, I watched Spectre, and apparently he's this historical Bond villain. I had no idea. So, but is that Spectre? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Spectre. Which is one of the knocks I had on that movie. But
just tidbit. I love
ooh.
this kind of like predated the MCU in terms of like slow, like this was like you had the Spectre saga of like Blofeld and Spectre kind of looming over multiple movies before it kind of like becomes a thing. I'm like, and like they get to like that James Bond will return in Thunderball. I really like how each movie kind of gets to be its own thing, but Spectre is like just always present.
Yeah.
You know who could play a really good okay, hold on. I'm really mad that I'm blanking on his name, but I am. Give me 1 sec. Oh, no, never mind. I got it.
Stone said in the comments, Cillian Murphy for villain. That would be phenomenal.
That would be sick. I think Michael Shannon.
Mitch was in the comments. Hello, Mitch.
Michael Shannon could be a great Bond villain.
Holy crap! Yeah.
Of course, he can be a great anything he wants to be, but I've seen him be creepy. He's creepy in Knives Out, and he's hilarious too. So he can play it.
I will not eat one iota.
I'm gonna throw an interesting one at you guys.
Ryan Reynolds.
Please no.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Oh my god.
I had that thought. I didn't want to terrorize James though.
He could be the new Doctor No. Because he literally has metal hands.
Dr. Nope.
No, I was gonna say, dude, Antonio Banderas.
Ooh, that's different.
I feel like if you're leaning into like the more fun side of Bond, he's one of those actors that has just an endless amount of charm. And I feel like he could really like lean into that side of Bond.
Just don't get James Mangold to do it, or else he'll underuse him like Dial of Destiny. That was a bummer to me. Like, not to just pick on that movie, Antonio Banderas.
Right.
Antonio Banderas is like he's a fun personality. You know, he's got he brings energy and spark to the screen, and I felt like he
also brought energy and spark to that movie, but he was there for 2 seconds.
To your point, James, do you know who I forgot was in that movie?
Antonio Banderas.
Exactly. I fully forgot that he was in that movie.
Yeah. But
wow, that's a bummer.
I think my pick, just because I'm such a big fanboy, is Walton Goggins. I think could make for a great Bond villain. He's already visually distinct. Like you see Walton Goggins, there's Walton Goggins, and he's such a fantastic actor. And speaking of redemption, just don't get Peyton Reed, who absolutely underused him in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So
I honestly don't even remember him being in Ant-Man.
I don't
exactly.
either.
Yeah, he's in that movie. You got freaking Walton Goggins. There's your shot at him in your MCU, and you totally dropped the ball. So I want him, especially if we go in the fun direction. Walton Goggins chewing scenery as like a larger than life villain would be pure cinema.
I thought of another one, and this Drew might get more just because. Oh, I can't remember. Have you seen Lost, James?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, never mind. Michael Emerson would make a
Oh,
great
yeah.
Bond villain.
Yeah, he could.
He would be great. He played. Drew, do you know who he is?
I think
Emerson.
so.
He plays Ben Linus.
Oh yeah.
He would be a really cool Bond
He
villain,
would.
I think. By the way, Stone, I don't know if you're still here. I just watched an episode. I think we're in season 2, and Michael Emerson shows up for a one-off in it as a guest star, and he was so great. He comes to Max's party as the bug guy. That I had no idea. I had no idea he was going to be in the show. He's so good.
I've got another great pull for a villain, Ralph Ineson.
Oh yeah, yeah, he'd be great.
With his presence, that like just anytime he's on screen and his voice, I feel like he could pull off a menacing villain, or like a super calculated one too.
What's funny is like now he's like this A24 guy. My first exposure to him was the Todd Packer character in the British Office.
Oh, okay. in the original one, gotcha.
Like he played that. I forget his name in that one, but that was him. And now all of a sudden he's like the Green Knight and the Witch and all this stuff. And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm trying to think of another great current actor.
I think Denzel could be a cool villain. I think Denzel could bring like a really cool, really like I'm just thinking of like, I know it's an older-ish movie now, but like if he wanted to like dig back into like his training day persona to just like be this beast on screen, he could be awesome.
That I mean, Denzel can do anything he wants.
Very true. Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell can do anything he wants. He'd be great.
Yeah.
Who would you want as M?
Woody Harrelson.
Dude, let him do it. Let him cook.
Let him cook.
I don't know if he's too old now. But Jim Broadbent would be a great M. Like he is, what's his name? Professor, he's from Harry Potter. And he's from Narnia, he's from Hot Fuzz. Yeah, if you just type in Jim Broadbent and simulate, that guy, yeah. But
okay. Yeah.
He's got that very, proper British, like I think
I can see it.
I'm sorry, I have to go back to villain. I just thought of one and I love it so much. I want to see Guy Pearce as a Bond villain.
He would be characteristically kill it because he's always awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've probably typecasting him because he's always a villain, I feel like, but he's so good at it, and he's different in every villain role too.
Christopher Nolan directed James Bond, Guy Pearce villain.
It would go so hard.
Reunite Memento.
Who is Christopher Nolan's Bond? Tonally, like if you know Christopher Nolan's style.
2010 era Tom Hardy. Inception era Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Because Eames to me, Eames in Inception always felt Bond-ish. Like that line whenever he walks up with a grenade launcher and he's like, "You mustn't be afraid to dream a bit bigger, darling." I'm like, that is so Bond. Like,
yeah, that could be.
It's insane to me, like how many films he's made where like he's basically saying, "Let me make Bond," and it just hasn't happened yet.
Yep.
He would be perfect.
No, and I mean he literally said it in an interview. He was like, Dark Knight Rises intro is my Bond cold open. Like that's what I did with the plane hijacking.
And then he was like, "I'll make my own Bond with Tenet."
Yeah.
And nobody will be able to hear what they're saying. That's the mystery.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think Oscar Isaac could play a cool Bond if he was British.
Yeah. I mean, he can. He's
I like
another guy who can
his
just
presence is just really great, but obviously he can't play Bond. But yeah. Anyway, we could do this game forever.
Yes. I don't know. I think you guys want to wrap up here. Any
Yeah,
final thoughts?
I loved it. I can't wait to watch. I might, if I'm feeling energetic enough, I might try to watch the next one now.
Yeah, I'm
I'd be
thinking-
really excited.
I'm thinking the same because
I'm in the mode. I'm in the Bond mode.
I got the rest of the week off, so
Oh gosh, what's that like?
I don't know. Probably won't last for too much longer with all these freaking jobs I've been applying to.
I'm working tomorrow, but then I will be off on Thursday. But I won't really be off. I'll be with family, and
Yeah.
that's great, but also not really resting.
Yeah,
But-
that's fair. That's fair.
Off your feet, maybe more.
yeah. But yeah, I might get off of here.
Oh, I'd be
and
so
watch.
excited.
Yeah, because I'm in the zone now. I'm the other night I tried to start because I'd already seen Doctor No. I was like, what's the second one called? From
Russia with Love.
I tried to start watching it, and it's not like it was bad at all. I mean, I really liked the first bit that I saw, but I started getting sleepy, and then I just have been really having a hard time motivating myself to get back to it. But going back to Doctor No, I feel like it's got me going. I'm excited to actually get there now, remembering what that was like and having that context a little more, being in that mode, and then actually going forward now. I'm more ready now than I was. I think I was trying to jump in. I shouldn't have jumped in on the second movie. I don't know what I was thinking.
Did you notice Quint from Jaws?
Where?
The opening scene, the villain
In which one?
in From Russia with Love.
I was falling asleep. I don't remember much of anything.
Oh, it's the
The
opening
guy that
scene
he was
where
the guy that he was that was shooting him, that he was like they're chasing.
the
other.
villain who is chasing like the guy with the Bond mask.
Yeah. That's
That's
him.
Quint. Yeah,
What?
Nice.
yeah.
That's nuts. Wow, that's crazy.
Now I gotta rewatch Jaws.
And when did From Russia with Love come out?
63, so like 11 years before Jaws.
Okay, cool. That's awesome, man. That's a fun tidbit. He looks
Yeah.
so different.
He kills it. He's so good at it.
Ooh.
He's-
Yeah, I think I'm gonna watch it. I think I'm gonna do it. I think I can do this. But we should wrap it up then.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah. Thanks for everyone who tuned in, and for all of you who are going to be listening to it on the pod feed. Appreciate you for tuning in. This was really fun, guys. I'd love to try this out again in the future. And also really want to talk about more Bond in the future, so we should consider that. But yeah, if you haven't already, be sure to sub to the YouTube channel if you're listening on the pod feed, so you can join us in our next live stream discussion. And then also, we shouted it out earlier in this episode, but go follow Criterion Corner. You can find it in our description. And then also we got Live Long and Banter, which we've been on a little bit of a hiatus, but we're going to start that back up real soon.
Hoping to potentially like next week
Yes.
after the holidays.
Yes,
hopefully.
after the holidays, I think will be a good time to jump back into that. And Mitch, who joined in the chat earlier, he's our third co-host, so it'll be fun to get back to that, especially like riding off of this high of like watching like 60s movies. I think it'll be a good like
60 stuff
step
is
back into
fun.
it. Yeah, it's got such a vibe to it. So yeah, go support your local theaters, and we will see y'all next time.